Hi, everyone. I thought it might be a good idea for me to share with you in my post tonight of how I would answer this one, my reflections and my recollection on having interviewed my mother and her parents. I remember when I first interviewed my family for about our religious beliefs and traditions, and I have to admit that I also remember feeling quite uncomfortable, a bit nervous. Coming from more than one ethnic group, from more than one religious tradition, made this a little bit more challenging for me. And so, what I decided to do was to focus on the side that I really didn't know that much about, which would have been my mother's side of things and her parents' side of things. Um, it was one thing for us to talk about family stuff, but still, again, I was nervous about speaking with my mom and her parents about their experience because you know what, they were Jewish and I was raised Catholic. And so we were really worlds apart. And when my parents got married, that was definitely the case. It was almost unheard of that a Catholic and a Jewish person would get married. So as a result, there was a lot I didn't understand. Um, I was afraid of looking like a fool. I was afraid of embarrassing myself. I was afraid of um, really kind of making my mom feel bad a bit um, because she didn't tell me an awful lot about what it meant to be Jewish. Ultimately, she converted to the Catholic faith, and so maybe that's part of it. But I think I just was very sensitive to that, and I also wondered whether or not she would regret the decisions that she made in having us kids be raised Catholic. At the same time, I was excited about the prospect of getting to know another side of my life, a side I didn't know anything really about. I was also excited to get to know a little bit more about my grandparents. So we lived in Connecticut, we still do. My grandparents lived in Florida at the time, so there's literally over 1,000 miles in distance between us. And so when we did get together, it wasn't for a lot of time at once, and it did not really allow for, or perhaps I just didn't allow for myself, the freedom to engage in a conversation of deep sharing about what faith was. And I honestly have to say that I really regret that today. Okay? You know what? While it's true that as a Christian, as a Catholic, the roots of my faith are in Judaism. They're not the same. So I wanted to learn about that. What was it like being Jewish in America from the 1930s up to the present day? What's changed? Have things indeed gotten better or not? I wasn't prepared for what I learned. And honestly, it kind of pained me a bit. My mother and her parents spoke of their experience of hatred, of racism, of anti Semitism, even at the hands of Catholic priests and nuns who were constantly referred to them as the Jew killers in the 1960s. Not really great images, if you will. Very saddening, actually. Um, but they also spoke about their faith. They spoke about pride in their faith and pride in their people. They spoke about their tenacity and their resilience. My grandfather talked about being um, a translator at the Nuremberg trials. He was in World War II. So, yeah, I mean, there's an awful lot there. I began to appreciate something else, and that is something about our country, about our culture, and that is we say that we are a melting pot. I don't buy it exactly, at least not immediately. I honestly think we are more like a cultural stew with chunks of flavor, vegetables and meat and whatever else. And those chunks, really, that's us because we retain our flavor. We retain that cultural identity, if you will. And that gives us the flavor in our various neighborhoods. And yeah, there's a broth, and the broth is really the structures that allow us to live together. It's the laws and the Constitution and the government and all that kind of stuff that we move around in our society. So that help us live together. So I appreciate the image, but I don't think it's quite perfect yet. We're a work in progress. We are called the American experiment for a reason. And honestly, I think we probably still have a great deal to do. But I wanted to share that with you as we work on this thing that we call an autoethnography. So hopefully, maybe this will help you as well. And I wish you well, and we'll see you soon.